Okay, we're live here. Got the lights. It's kind of bright out, so you can't really see but the blue light is there. It's a bright sunny day. There's my surfboard that I go surfing with Boutin because I'm a Kremlin puppet, as we all know. And I've got my vegan smoothie because I was just outside. I actually was surfing with Putin and a bunch of violent burn bros. That's what we were doing. Every time I go to a Jimmy Dore show, I see all these women of all different age groups, people of all different ethnicities, genders, ethnicities, and yet the corporate media is still pushing the burn bro, this 26-year-old millennial that's an idiot or whatever, violent, he's crazy or whatever. Our stream health looks good. I'm going to continue to enjoy this delicious smoothie since one person is watching. It's Sunday, June 25th. And of course, a lot of different stuff has currently happened. The thing we were talking about, I was on the Jimmy Dore show yesterday, was California had a shot at single-payer healthcare, and Anthony, I believe, Rendon, he voted it down, and he did it on Friday night at 5 o'clock, and he just said, we're going to send it to committee. I don't know if it's right yet, which sending committee is, of course, how you kill a bill. That's how you destroy it. You send it to committee. So once again, it's showing, and I want to bring up this gentleman's information, Anthony Rendon. So he is the head, I believe, of the state senate, like the California state senate, and he's like the head Democrat in the state of California, I believe. And he released this thing and he did it Friday at 4:35 p.m., which is convenient because then nobody is like listening or paying attention. So he gives this ridiculous release the following statement on health care. He is from the 63rd district. Yesterday, Republicans in the U.S. Senate released a cynical plan to repeal the Affordable Care Act, posing a real and immediate threat to millions of Californians who only have health coverage because of the ACA. Preparing California to meet this threat must be the top health care priority for the legislator, Governor Brown, and organizations that advocate increasing access to health care. Oh, that sounds like he's on board, like he wants to fix it. As someone who has long been a supporter of single payer, I am encouraged by the conversation begun by Senate Bill 562. Oh, here we go. Now we're getting into corporate Democrat bullshit. However, SB 562 was sent to the Assembly woefully incomplete. Even senators who voted for SB 562 noted there are potentially fatal flaws in the bill, including the fact that it does not address many serious issues such as financing, delivery of care. Right, this is their big thing. I did an article on this. There was an op-ed piece in the LA Times about this guy that said, oh, single-payer health care in California, take a cold shower. It's pie in the sky. More that, ooh, my dishes are making crazy noises. More that pie in the sky talk, because they say it can cost $400 billion. But the big pharma and the healthcare industry has spent a lot of money paying off Democrats, because California is a blue state, so they're the ones in control. Most of the districts are blue, so they pay them off. They pay off, and the districts that are Republican, they pay off the Republicans. But it's mostly Democrats who've been paid off by the big pharma and the healthcare industry. There is the nurses union. You know, nurses union. Oh man, you know, they're bilking society. Those nurses, their bloated salaries The nurses union is obviously in favor of single payer, as well they should be. It's a union. You'll notice the corporate state for decades will always attack a union because a union gives workers rights. A unions created the 40-hour work week. Unions created weekends. Unions created sick leave. Unions created vacation days. So, excuse me, the corporate state will always go after the unions because the unions threaten their power. So they are the ones fighting for single payer, which literally would help millions of people in the state of California. Now, the state of California, as I've said, many other people have said, I've heard it reported several different. It's somewhere between the 6th and 9th largest economy in the world. I've heard it called the 7th, the 6th, and the 9th. Let's just say it's the 9th for argument's sake. That's still, California has the 9th largest economy in the world. Right? That's on par with countries like Germany and stuff like that, like industrialized, tech, first world countries. And you can't tell me they couldn't sit down and figure out how to pay for this. $400 billion, how are we going to do this? You want to know one of the reasons why California has the 9th largest economy in the world? Tourism. The number one export is in the United States is entertainment. So the entertainment industry, we export entertainment all over the world. We also have agriculture, almonds, any fresh produce year-round, that comes mainly from California. So the fact that this country couldn't figure out how to find this money, and then we have guys like this speaker, Anthony Rendon. His phone number is 562-529-3250. I'll put that in here, 529-3250. Call to ask why no single payer in California. So currently his voicemail box is full, oddly enough, because I tweeted this number, Jimmy Dore tweeted this number. So that was so his voicemail box is full. But wait till Monday, wait till business hours, and call and get someone in his office to answer the phone and say, I want to make this remark. And this is the thing that they continue to say. This double talk, this is just great Democratic double talk, corporate Democrat double talk. You know, we've got to find the right bill. No, get the bill fixed. Get the right one. They're trying, see, on the national level, all the Republicans want to appeal the Affordable Care Act, which is the Obamacare is not a great plan at all. It's better than nothing. And it is a Republican health care bill, and instead of, you would think Democrats, supposed to be the party for the people, would be, oh man, we're all about single payer and taking care of people. No, it's another reason why we got to ditch the Democratic Party. So also Kimberly Ellis was trying, she lost the control of this, the head of the California Democratic Party. She lost by 62 votes. She has been in favor, obviously, of single payer. She's a progressive. That's what progressives do. So this is just another preposterous bill, and it just shows you this is how, and since the election, this is how the corporate Democrats do business, right? He opens his statement. He doesn't say, I'm voting this thing down. He opens his statement with a bunch of bullshit. Oh, the Republicans and Trump are trying to take away your health care, so we got to support this. But this bill, there's some problems. Like, they always just, their whole thing is, we're not Trump. That's Pelosi's game. Wasserman Schultz, we got to stop Trump, stop Trump, stop Trump. And then they won't help people. And then they wonder why they continually lose. There were 4 vacancies in seats, congressional and Senate seats around the country because of cabinet appointments by Trump, right? 4 special runoff elections. The Democrats lost all 4 of them. The reason they lost all 4 of them was either it was a progressive they didn't put any money behind, they didn't help the progressive, or it was a corporate Democrat like John Ossoff who ran this bullshit mealy-mouthed campaign that's just typical, you know, technology and platitudes are going to, and people went, no. And this is why we got to come up with a new party, because I just don't see, you know, I'm all for what the Justice Democrats are want to do and are trying to accomplish and take over the Democratic Party. I think it's a noble idea. I just don't see it happening. I don't see, I'm sorry, get this crazy microphone out of the way. I just don't see anyone in the Democratic Party doing anything. I just don't see it. I just don't see it changing. I don't see that party doing anything that is different at all. And I don't understand how anyone can. They just keep proving time and time again. In the state of California, look what they've done. Kimberly Ellison was a progressive. They squashed her. They sent some corporate Democrats, like 2 women. She gives this interview, and she talks about these 2 prominent women, because Kimberly Ellis is a black woman. She said, these 2 prominent black women in the Democratic Party want to meet with you. You should, meet with them. She's like, oh, okay, yeah, all right. And flew down to Los Angeles from Oakland, and they sat down to order, and after the waiter took the order, this woman leans in and was like, who the hell do you think you are? And literally said, we are going to murder you politically. They threatened her. And that's why she's like, okay, I'm asking for a recount, because she only lost by, 62 or 63 votes? So this is how the Democratic Party operates. And this is why people on the left need to wake up. Seriously. So the other thing that we could definitely talk about is the so that has been happening, and then of course there's more Russia talk, and even you're starting to see some people in the corporate media are realizing that this is nonsense. People on MSNBC are starting to go, come on, it's been a year. This Russia investigation started last July. And why it's such a mistake for the Democrats to, first of all, there's all this stuff that they could just be going after, legitimate stuff to go after Trump on. You said you were going to drain the swamp, Trump, and you have Rex Tillerson, and you have Mike Pompeo, and all these corporate people. You didn't drain the swamp. They could be doing that. They can't do that because Hillary would have filled that cabinet with a bunch of Goldman Sachs and corporate billionaires and all this other stuff. Because Trump is just, as I've said numerous times, is just doing a more egregious version of what what Obama did, what Bush did, what Bill Clinton did, what the other Bush, what Reagan, what they've been doing. Really, Reagan started deregulating everything and privatizing and making everything corporate. And it goes against the social contract. And there's nothing wrong with, if you want to make money, but you have to give back. And there's not even any give back. There's just I'm sure they have some bullshit charity luncheon, but that's all just for them to stroke each other, and it's used for power. I'll give this amount of money to this chair, or it's probably some bullshit foundation like the Trump Foundation or the Clinton Foundation, which is just a way for them to pay each other and pay off their kids and keep their kids rich. And so it's really the liberal elite. But I want to read I want to read some stuff from, put my microphone back on, from Chris Hedges' book, Death of the Liberal Class, and it talks about where we're at and what we need to do. There's an excellent excerpt here about climate change, and he talks about how serious it is, and what it's done, and how the death of the liberal class has affected the media and everything like that. But I want to read this to you. The climate crisis is a political crisis. We will either defy the corporate elite, which will mean civil disobedience, a rejection of traditional politics for a new radicalism, and the systematic breaking of laws, or see ourselves consumed. Now, I'm reading an excerpt here, but to be very clear, Chris Hedges, and neither am I, is not condoning violent opposition at all. He's very clear on that. Violent opposition, you lose yourself. You got to keep the moral compass of nonviolent resistance and nonviolent opposition. Because if you go into violence, then how are you any better than the corporate state that is killing everybody and beating, stealing, killing civilians? We're killing Americans. They're just doing whatever they want. Time is not on our side, says Hedges. The longer we wait, the more assured our destruction becomes. The future, if we remain passive, will be wrestled from us. So it's really how serious the environmental situation is and the climate change. I talk about it a lot on this show, and it's because we're running out of time, and I don't think people understand this. And we talked about it last week. Some of you asked the question, I believe last week's Superchat Sunday, of why people have their heads in the sand, and it's why there needs to be an actual resistance. Marches and rallies are nice, but there needs to be actual resistance, and that's just like quietly saying, no, I'm not doing this. When the corporate state asks you to do something, just say no. I mean, look what they're doing. Look what the corporate state's doing. So there were people in wheelchairs protesting Congress for the overturning of the Affordable Care Act, and cops took these people, detained even some of them, handcuffed them, or bound their hands so they couldn't move their wheelchair. This is the state we're in. I mean, Trump, this is a president that made fun of a disabled reporter. This is a guy that mocked a Gold Star family. For those of you who don't know, a Gold Star family is a family who had a child that died in combat serving this country. He mocked a Gold Star family. And people still voted for him, which just shows you, it's several things. First, obviously, as we've discussed numerous times on that show, the Democrats offered no solution, so then that's why people run into a demagogue. But it also shows you how sick this country is. That, they'll still vote for that guy. Despite all that awful stuff. I get not wanting to vote for Hillary, and I get not wanting to vote for Trump, but then to vote for either one, I don't know. It's just, it's unbelievable. This is the country that we're in. We killed 1,000 civilians in March with drone strikes. That's just 1 month. We have created a huge humanitarian crisis, a food crisis. There's starvation, awful starvation happening in Yemen right now because of us. Because of us helping the Saudis take over that country. Because Saudi Arabia is a rich totalitarian, they sponsor terrorism, and they're all about oil and money. And that's what this country does. There's this false notion, a false narrative that is obviously pushed by the corporate media, that the American military always goes into it reluctantly. The American military wants to get into it because the military-industrial complex makes a lot of money from when we go to war. There's a lot of money. There is... Each soldier has some, I don't know, $15,000, $20,000 in material or something like that for one soldier. That's a lot of money. The body armor, the helmet, the gloves, the gun, everything, not to mention the amount of money spent to train that soldier. It's so much money is being made that it's crazy. So it's kind of a disappointing thing right now, but it's why we need to go and resist, and we need to call out the Democrats when they do this, and we need to learn about people like Nina Turner and Kimberly Ellis, because look at how they're treated. That's the other thing too, that the liberal elites they'll scream sexism and racism when it's convenient for their neoliberal policies, but when a progressive is shunned, when Nina Turner, a black woman, not allowed to speak at the Democratic convention, where was the outcry? If a neoliberal black woman was not allowed to speak, like if Donna Brazile was not allowed to speak at the Democratic convention because it was all progressives and progressives just shunned, oh, she would be out, she'd be crying racism, she'd be crying everything. But when a progressive, I mean, look what the tactics they'll do. They'll take two neoliberal corporate Democrat black women to threaten a progressive black woman over lunch. Make her fly to another city and threaten her. We're going to murder your political career. That's what they do. And this is a blue liberal state, California. It's why they are more of a threat. Because as I've said, the Republican Party, their evil is pretty upfront about it. We're just a corporate greedy party, but because if the Democrats offered anything, any sort of populist message, any sort of progressive message, the Republicans would have no leg to stand on, because their racist corporate rhetoric would just be like only a handful of people would be with that party. Remember how bad Trump's ratings were? That was with an awful candidate in Hillary Clinton running an awful campaign. Bernie Sanders would have crushed Trump, because all those people that just like, ugh, I don't like Trump, he's an idiot, but I dislike him less than I do Hillary and the Democrats, so those people would have come over to Bernie Sanders because he would have campaigned everywhere. He would have campaigned in all of the blue states and would have gone deep into the red states and said, look, he would have gone to some town that had a shut down coal mine and say, I'm going to help you out. The globalization, NAFTA, and all this stuff has been awful. He would have gone into the black community and said, what is happening, how black men are more than likely to go to jail, the 3 strikes you're outlaw, the unarmed black men getting shot, the fact that a white kid gets busted for weed, he gets a slap on the wrist. A black kid gets busted for weed, he's going to jail. He goes, I'm going to end that. He would talk directly and act and not just say, oh, you can't vote for them, they're evil, you got to vote for us. I did that story. There's that story in the Chicago Sun-Times how Democrats are losing the African American vote. And one of you in the comments section under it was like, hey, I'm an African American, I bailed on the Democratic Party. And this is what they do. They can't offer anything. And if they went for a populist progressive message, if you started giving people jobs and health care and good schools, they'd be more willing to listen to you if they're like doing that. And then you're like, why are you waving a Confederate flag? You know that's really racist, right? They might listen. They might not. They might go, hell, South will rise again. Okay. I'm not condoning or excusing or wanting to embrace racism. But so much of it comes from the isolation and neglect that also happens in the inner city. Right? If we're going to have sympathy for a black or Latino kid in the inner city that has no other options other than gang violence, or very few options, and chooses that. Yes, you can make the argument there were people who, hey, there are people who grew up in the hood that didn't go into the gang, the crime life. Come on, man. There's white people that grew up in rural southern states that used to be slave states before the Civil War that didn't join the KKK. Yes, that is a fair argument. But you have to see the similarities. When you don't give people a lot of options, and when the liberal class lets you down, because the liberal class should be fighting for decent things like morality and education and money equality, should be pointing out the inequities of capitalism, and you can understand how someone will then have no choice. I get it. I get it. And if I didn't have the education I had, I don't know. It maybe could have been easy for me to go down the Trump road. And all it takes is you're in a group that's everyone's kind of the same. Ethnicity, socioeconomic background, education, religion, whatever. It's easy to then influence that group and say, look, it's over there they're screwing you, or we'll take care of you over here. They're the ones. It's what they do in the Middle East. When I was in Iraq and Afghanistan, they would tell me that all the time. These interrogators were like, one interrogator in Iraq, he goes, Graham, a lot of these young guys, they don't even know how to read. We teach them how to read, and then they start reading the Quran. He said, I had one guy who broke into tears because he didn't know how to read the Quran, and Al-Qaeda or whomever was like, the Quran says you need to blow them up and you need to kill them, and he started reading all of the it's a pretty peaceful religion, Islam. But anyone can bastardize anything. People bastardize the teaching of Jesus. Jesus was all about loving everybody. He was like, Jesus was a socialist. And so when I had a U.S. Army interrogator tell me that, I was like, oh, that sounds familiar. That's what the KKK and the white supremacist group do. Hey, poor white guy. You were born into poverty. It sucks. You know whose fault it is? It's the Jews or the blacks or whatever. You're born in a bad, poor situation. Born in an inner city. There's no jobs. The school system sucks. Hey, man, join our gang. We'll take care of you. And you make some money. What are you going to do? Work minimum wage at Taco Bell? Oh, man, we'll take care of you. And anybody messes with you, you got all of us to get your back. Oh, yeah. I'm young. I've been abused. I don't know what, I got no opportunity. Everywhere I turn, it's just bullshit. Someone's coming at me. The cops are coming at me. The teachers don't give a shit. Society doesn't care. The messages on the media tell me I'm no good. Okay. I'll join. I'll join your gang. I'll join the Klan. I'll join Al-Qaeda, ISIS, what have you. You see how easy it is? And this is what the corporate state has done to the world. The corporate state has one purpose, to extract as much money as it can. This crazy inequity that we're experiencing now is by design. This is what they want. So, normally we have a little more people watching. We'll get some more questions, but since I don't see any real questions coming, I'm going to probably wrap this up, but thank you all for watching this, and I know a lot of you guys watch it after the fact because you're busy when we do it live. I'll try to do it every Sunday. Might have to take next Sunday off, but thank you guys so much for doing this and supporting the show. And of course, you can go to patreon.com/Graham Elwood, and that's where you can donate to the show. We're starting to make it grow, and I need a bunch of stuff. My laptop is 7 years old. I'm going to get a new computer that's faster. It can edit more stuff, and I'm going to be putting in video, and all of you folks that are supporting the show, you're helping me grow. When I started, I was literally just talking to my phone I didn't even have, and then I added this microphone and these lights, and we've made it better that far, and we've been able to put some more stuff into it. So even if you're just able to give $1 a month, you're helping support the show. And then, of course, I just released bonus video. If you're a Patreon backer, you get a bonus video a week. I'm hoping to start doing more of those. And Also, you get the podcast. Currently, the podcast is only available to Patreon supporters at the $5 and up level. And I will eventually put it on iTunes for everybody, and then you'll start getting bonus content. But for right now, it's only available to patrons. So if you want the Political Vigilante podcast, I just did an interview with Jimmy Dore that I dropped last week. So check that out. Thank you for supporting the show. You can also follow me at Graham Elwood on Twitter, at Graham Elwood on Instagram. I have facebook.com/Graham Elwood Comedy, and Twitter's the best place. That's where I'm posting most of my political stuff, and that's what I'll tell you when I'm going live with this show. And also, GrahamElwood.com. And, you know, if you're new to this, please like and subscribe to the videos. So here's how YouTube works. The more views a video gets, the more they'll promote it. So it sort of feeds itself. Like a lot of my videos get about 200-300 views, but like I did one asking the question from one of you, Ivan Shrevey Jr. asked, is Tulsi Gabbard a real progressive? And we went into sort of some stuff and said, well, we need to investigate and ask these questions. That got 1,000 views. So the more people that watch it, then the more YouTube promotes it. When you watch the ads that play, I know a lot of them are annoying, but the ads that play in the beginning, if you click skip, I don't get paid. If you just let the ad play all the way through, the 30 seconds or whatever, like make yourself a vegan smoothie and let the ad play, I get more money from that. That's a free way for you to help support the show. And as I said, you can go to Patreon support for as little as $1 a month. $2 a month, you start getting, I do Patreon-only posts, and you get some behind-the-scenes photos. I do polls. I do all different kinds of stuff. And then $5 and up, you get all this bonus stuff. So I really love doing the show. I highly recommend reading this book, Death of the Liberal Class by Chris Hedges. If you have, many of you already have read this, and many of you know many of his other works, but I highly suggest this book. And I'm going to start reading the book Listen Liberal. Jimmy Dore turned me onto that one. So I got this at my library. Oh, it's socialism. It's killing us all. So thank you so much for watching and supporting the show. My name is Graham Elwood, and you are watching The Political Vigilante, and I release videos every day. So now I'm turning it off.